Welcome to BL Stories, where romance, drama, and unforgettable boys' love come to life. Love knows no limits, and the best stories aren't always straight. Subscribe now and join our growing BL-loving family. Chapter 25. Josh POV. 5 years later. Kevin. I called from the kitchen while stirring vegetables in the pan. We were running late, again. I turned off the stove and hurried to the bedroom, smiling as I went. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I gently tickled his nose, then his neck. His soft giggles filled the room as he squirmed and laughed, trying to escape my hands. Okay. I'm up, he pleaded, grabbing my wrists. Good morning, Papa, he said happily, wrapping his arms around my neck and planting a kiss on my cheek. Good morning, sweetheart. Come on, school time. We're really late today, I replied, kissing his cheeks until he laughed again. I lifted him onto my hip and carried him to the bathroom. We brushed his teeth together, turning it into a game, then I gave him a bubble bath. He played with the foam, piling it onto his hair and hands while I watched with quiet contentment. All right, that's enough, I said gently, rinsing his hair with warm water. He coughed lightly, making me smile. I wrapped him in a towel and dried him carefully. Back in the bedroom, he bounced on the bed while I dressed him and combed his hair. He studied himself in the mirror. Do I look good, Papa? He asked. The most handsome 5-year-old in the world, I said, kissing his cheek. I carried him into the kitchen and sat him at the table with a bowl of cereal. Eat up. I'll pack your lunch, I said. He ate slowly as usual and eventually pushed the bowl away. I sighed softly, picked him up with his lunchbox in my other hand, and hurried toward the elevator. Kev, I'll be there at 4, okay? Don't go with anyone except your teacher or me. Remember what we talked about, good touch, bad touch? I said, kissing his cheeks. I know, Pa, he said. Then he looked up at me. Can we see Ian today? After school you have practice. But Ian should be home later, I replied. You miss him? He nodded, clutching his lunchbox. I dropped him off at the school bus, kissed him goodbye, and watched him wave as he joined his friends. Only when the bus pulled away did I finally breathe out. Mornings were exhausting. Back at the apartment, I listened to my voicemail while washing dishes. Josh, I'll be late today, Ian's voice said. Don't be mad. I have a surprise for you and Kevin. Be ready at 7. I smiled, shaking my head. Ian had done well for himself. Promotions, long hours, little free time, but he always tried for us. I called him back. Better be a good surprise, I said. Kevin's been asking about you. It is, Ian replied. Formal clothes. We'll be back by 10, I promise. Kevin has school tomorrow, I reminded him. I know. Trust me. I sighed. He misses you. I know. I love you both. After work and a rushed afternoon, I picked Kevin up from school. He ran into my arms, excitedly telling me about earning a star in math. We went to his football practice, his absolute favorite thing in the world, then headed home. By evening, he was in the bathtub playing with his toy boat while I made soup. Ian will be here soon, I called. Really? Kevin shouted back, thrilled. I dressed him in a neat shirt and pants, helped him with homework, then got ready myself. When the doorbell rang, Kevin sprinted to the door. Ian scooped him up immediately, laughing. I missed you, buddy. Watching them together always made my chest feel warm. We soon found ourselves driving to the Grand Prairie Hotel. Kevin bounced in his seat, holding his Iron Man figure. Inside, everything felt overwhelming. Bright lights, elegant clothes, famous faces. Ian held Kevin's hand in mine, grounding me. It's okay, he whispered. After a while, I stepped out to the balcony for air. The city lights stretched endlessly below. That's when I saw him. A familiar silhouette. A black tuxedo. A presence I never thought I'd face again. Ed. I whispered. He turned just as stunned as I was. Josh. Before either of us could say more, Kevin came running toward me. Papa. I got Jackie Chan's autograph. I lifted him up, praising him enthusiastically. When I looked back at Ed, his eyes were fixed on us. You have a son, he said quietly. Yes, I replied. He's 5. His name is Kevin. Kevin stared at him, then gasped. Papa, you're Ed Shaw, the best player from LA United. Ed laughed, kneeling to sign Kevin's paper. When Kevin ran off to find Ian, silence settled between us. I'm happy for you, Ed said at last. You got the family you always wanted. I nodded, staring out at the city. I'm proud of you too. Everything you've achieved. He turned to me, his expression serious. Then why did you disappear? Why didn't you answer me? My heart tightened. He still had that effect on me, still made my breath hitch, still made my pulse race. And after all these years, I realized some feelings never truly fade. Chapter 26. Josh POV. I stood there, overwhelmed by his question. I knew the answers, but I also knew he wouldn't easily accept them. He waited silently, watching me, giving me space yet refusing to let the moment pass. A server walked by, and I quickly signaled her over. I finished my drink in one swallow, wincing at the bitterness. Ed noticed immediately. The server replaced my empty glass with a fresh one, and I thanked her with a tight smile. We stood a few feet apart on the wide balcony, stars above us, city lights glowing below. Under different circumstances, it might have felt romantic. Josh, focus. I shook my head slightly, trying to stay present. Ed didn't move. His gaze remained steady, intense. Would you stop staring at me? I asked quietly, turning away. What? He replied, confused. You're staring. Because I'm waiting, he said firmly. He was angry. I deserve that. 5 years of silence isn't something anyone just forgives. I rested my hand against the cold railing and took another sip of champagne. He stepped closer, and my breathing became uneven. I want an answer, he said, his voice calm but commanding. I swallowed, holding the glass near my lips, refusing to look at him. He gently took the glass from my hand and set it aside, then turned me to face him, his hands resting on my shoulders. I kept my eyes closed. How much have you had? He asked softly. 3, I admitted, staring at the floor. Look at me, Josh. I hesitated, then met his gaze. His eyes were the same, warm and familiar. His hair was longer now, tied back neatly. He looked stronger, more confident. And yet, he was still the Ed I had loved. I adjusted my glasses nervously, stepping back. He smiled faintly. I still affect you, he said quietly. I can feel it. I'm fine, I said firmly. He nodded and stepped back. I'm sorry, but I still need the truth. I took a slow breath. I thought I was doing the right thing, I said calmly. You were starting a new chapter. I didn't want to hold you back. I thought letting go was what you needed. His expression hardened. Who told you that? He demanded. You don't get to decide my life for me. His voice rose and instinctively fear crept in. Old memories surfaced, uninvited. My hands trembled. Don't, I whispered, my voice shaking. Ed froze instantly. His anger vanished, replaced by shock and concern. I'm sorry, he said quickly, stepping back. I would never hurt you. I didn't mean to scare you. He wrapped his arms around me carefully, giving me space to pull away. Instead, I leaned in, breathing slowly until my heart calmed. It's okay, I whispered, mostly to myself. We stayed like that for a moment, safe, quiet, familiar. Then a soft cough broke the moment. I pulled back, startled. Ian stood nearby with Kevin in his arms, wearing an amused smile. Kevin tilted his head, trying to understand what he was seeing. Ian cleared his throat. Josh, can I borrow Kevin tonight? What? I asked, confused. You two need to talk, he said simply. I'll take him home. I'll bring him to school tomorrow. Kevin hugged me tightly. I kissed his cheek again and again. Be good, okay? I whispered. I'll see you tomorrow. He nodded happily as Ian carried him away. When I turned back, Ed was watching me quietly. Where are they going? He asked. Kevin's staying with Ian tonight, I replied. It's his first time away from me. He'll be fine, Ed said gently. There was a pause. Why does Kevin call Ian by his name? Ed asked. I thought you were married. I smiled softly. Ian isn't my husband. We broke up years ago. Ed stared at me stunned. You mean, you were alone back then? He asked. Yes. Silence stretched between us. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to distract you from your recovery, I said quietly. I put you first. Always. His shoulders sagged. You were my dream, Josh, he said softly. Tears filled my eyes. I just wanted you to be happy. He didn't respond at first. Then he pulled me into a tight embrace, and I held on, knowing this moment mattered. Eventually I stepped back. It's late. I should go home. Let me drive you, he said. The ride was quiet but comforting. I told him about Kevin, how hard the process had been, how worth it. When we reached my apartment, I hesitated. Would you like to come in? I asked nervously. Just for coffee. He smiled gently. Another time. Before I stepped out, he caught my hand. Promise you won't disappear again. I promise, I said. I went inside, heart racing. Later that night, the doorbell rang. It was Ed. I forgot something, he said breathlessly. What? I asked. To ask you this, he said softly. Do you still love me? I didn't hesitate. I never stopped. He smiled, relief washing over his face. So did I, he said. And in that quiet moment, standing in my doorway, I knew some love never truly fades. Chapter 27. Josh POV. Ed pulled me close, his lips brushing mine, and I didn't resist. My hands rested gently on his shoulders, holding him near, feeling the warmth and familiarity I had missed for so long. Every second apart had made this moment unbearably sweet. I smiled softly against his lips, and he returned it with a look full of longing and relief. We stayed like that for a moment, simply holding each other, letting the years of separation melt away. Ed, I whispered, resting my forehead against his. I'm not going anywhere. He exhaled softly, a weight leaving him. Good, he murmured, his voice low and tender. He guided me toward the bedroom, but neither of us rushed. Every step was careful, every touch deliberate, as if we were rediscovering each other. We reached the bed, sitting side by side. I studied his face, every detail, every expression, committing it to memory. He looked at me with the same intensity one remembered, his eyes softening as tears gathered at their corners. I reached for his hand, holding it gently. I'm sorry for making you wait, I said, voice trembling. For not saying how I felt. But I never stopped loving you. He shook his head, brushing a hand through his hair. Josh, don't ever sacrifice yourself for me again. Don't hide your heart from me. I won't, I promised, smiling through my tears. He leaned in, pressing a gentle kiss to my forehead, then my cheeks. I closed my eyes, breathing in his familiar scent, feeling safe and home in his presence. We sat there, hands intertwined, letting the world fade away. You're still the same, he whispered softly. And yet, everything has changed. I laughed quietly, leaning my head on his shoulder. I guess some things never change. We talked for hours, whispering memories, laughing quietly at small shared moments, and holding on to each other like the years hadn't passed at all. The nervousness that had plagued me earlier melted away under his careful attention, replaced with warmth, trust, and the deep comfort of being understood. Eventually, exhaustion overtook us. Ed fell asleep with his head resting lightly against my chest, and I held him close, my fingers gently tracing the lines of his face. I kissed his temple softly. I don't think either of us needed guidance, I whispered, smiling. We just knew. He murmured something unintelligible in his sleep, and I chuckled quietly. Wrapping him in a protective embrace, I closed my eyes, letting the quiet intimacy of the night carry us both into peaceful sleep. For the first time in 6 years, I felt complete. Chapter 28. Josh POV. I woke up slowly, my eyes fluttering open. Strong arms were wrapped around my waist from behind, and my side felt numb. I chuckled softly, savoring the warmth of him. It felt like waking from a long sleep, refreshing, comforting, and something I didn't realize I had been missing. Slowly, I turned toward his face, brushing my fingers lightly across his wrist and up to his shoulder. He smiled and I laughed softly. "Good morning," I whispered, leaning close to his ear before sinking back into my pillow. He cupped my cheek gently, his touch tender and reassuring. Leaning down, he pressed a soft kiss to my lips. I giggled at the sensation, the closeness, and the familiarity of him. I tried to push him lightly, but he was strong, and I was small in comparison. He laughed, nuzzling my neck playfully, and I squirmed, trying to escape his gentle teasing. "Stop. That tickles, Ed." I laughed, thrashing in his embrace. Eventually we paused, breathless, and I rested my hand on his cheek. Time seemed to freeze in that moment. "I love him." "Good morning, baby," he whispered, hands framing my face as he kissed me softly. I melted into him, savoring the simple warmth of his presence. My hands ran through his hair as I pulled back to press a soft kiss to his forehead. Slowly I got up, sitting at the edge of the bed in my t-shirt and boxers. He wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his head on my shoulder. We sat like that for a long moment, quiet and comfortable. "Why didn't you? I mean, it's hard to believe. You're one of the best footballers, yet you never went to parties or anything," I asked, curious. He pulled me closer, wrapping his legs around mine. "I didn't have time for anything. My first season was intense. Parties? They happened, but I had so much pressure and honestly, football was everything. And when I did go out, it just didn't feel right." I frowned, confused. "It was all business, not passion," he continued. "Numbers, contracts, expectations. I thought they'd love the game as I did, but it wasn't the same." I reached out, rubbing his arm, feeling the weight of his honesty. "But I did get attention from others," he admitted, looking at me. "And?" I asked gently, our fingers brushing together. I wanted to understand, but I trusted him. He pulled my chin up to meet his gaze, kissing my nose softly. "I almost, but I couldn't. You were always in my mind. I couldn't do it." I tilted my head, touched by his sincerity. "You came to mind," he whispered, pressing a gentle kiss to my cheek. "And since then, nothing else mattered." I laughed softly, feeling warmth spread through me. "Ed, I'm 30 with a 5-year-old. Not exactly the most glamorous scenario." He turned me toward him, smiling. "You're the most beautiful scenario I could imagine." My cheeks flushed as I looked away, smiling. "You're the most amazing person I've ever known," he said, his voice steady but full of feeling. "If you could see yourself through my eyes. God, you're incredible. I fell for your heart, your soul. I'd marry you any day." I froze, stunned by his words. "What?" I whispered, turning to look at him. "I might have let that slip," he admitted sheepishly, rubbing his head. I laughed softly, a mixture of joy and disbelief. "You're ridiculous." He shrugged. "I had a plan once, but seeing you again, I couldn't wait." I shook my head, overwhelmed, placing my hands over my mouth. "Oh my God, you're impossible." I laughed, hugging him tightly, making him fall back onto the bed with me. "This idiot needs you," he said with a playful smirk. "So, what do you say? I know it's not perfect timing, but technically, we've been in love for 6 years, even without seeing each other. Doesn't that count?" I laughed through happy tears, hovering over him and pressing a soft kiss to his lips. "You're crazy," I whispered. "And you love it," he replied, tightening his hold on my waist. "You're my crazy lover," I said, leaning down to kiss him again. "Yes, Doc," he chuckled against my smile. I got up, heading to a drawer with a mischievous smile. I pulled out a small blue envelope and returned to him, blushing. "Sit up," I said softly. He obeyed, eyes wide with curiosity. "Close your eyes," I instructed, laughing at his slow compliance. I revealed a silver chain with a pendant, carefully placing it around his neck. He reached to adjust it, playful as ever, and I giggled, gently wiggling away. "Open now," I whispered. He opened his eyes, reading the engraving. "Not your therapist?" he smirked. I shook my head, smiling. "Turn it around." He read it aloud. "You're my one and only love." I cupped his face, repeating it softly as I kissed him with all the love I felt. You're my one and only love, he whispered back, hugging me tightly. We sat there, holding each other close, hearts beating in sync. I was going to tell you that night, I confessed softly. I want to rewind time and make sure you knew, he said, half laughing, half exasperated. We laughed together, sharing kisses, holding on to each other as if we would never let go. I'd always choose you, I said, playfully pinching his cheek. But now you're number 2. Who's number 1? Don't say Ian or I'll, he started, but I laughed. My son, I replied with a grin. He smiled warmly. I don't mind that. So, will you marry me? He asked, pulling me close. I smiled, pouting, and kissed him softly. Yes and no. He groaned in confusion as I walked toward the kitchen, laughing. Hungry? I teased. No. Answer me, he shouted, chasing me. He scooped me up and held me to his chest. You're forgetting someone, I said softly. Who? He asked. Kevin. I can't make this decision alone. He has to be okay with this. With us. With you, I whispered, tears brimming. He held me tightly, pressing a soft kiss to my forehead. Shh, we'll figure it out. Together. Chapter 29. Josh POV. After our deep conversation, Ed and I agreed to take things slow. His first priority was to get to know Kevin and build a relationship with him before anything else progressed. I felt my chest swell at his words. We've waited for 6 years. If I have to wait a little longer to make you fully mine, I think it's worth it. I'm just nervous about Kevin. Will he like me? I chuckled and pressed a soft kiss to his cheek. He'll love you, I reassured him. Ed had practice in the afternoon, so I insisted he take a nap after we had breakfast. Later, I quietly opened the bedroom door to check on him. He was fast asleep, hair tousled, looking peaceful. I smiled. He really did just need rest. I returned to my chores, glancing at the clock. 2 hours until I had to pick up Kevin. I was cleaning the kitchen when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Ian standing there with that familiar grin. I rolled my eyes but let him in. I already knew what he was thinking. So, he sauntered into the kitchen, leaning on the counter. What? I asked, tired but amused. Oh, somebody's grumpy. Rough night, he teased. I threw a dish towel at him, laughing despite myself. You're an idiot, I said, walking past the counter toward the living room. Yup, all my life. That's why you love me, he said, spinning on his stool with a cheeky smile. I crossed my arms, shaking my head. They fine. We had a moment. Happy? I muttered, blushing slightly, focusing on tidying the living room. He laughed. See, I was right. Should have placed a bet. I shot him a pointed look. Don't even think about it. By the way, how did you get Kevin's school supplies? I came here, grabbed them and left, he replied casually. Please tell me you didn't leave him alone in the car with the keys in the ignition. I groaned. He stopped mid-drink, eyes wide. Oh my God, Ian. He's 5 years old. You can't leave him alone like that. I scolded, stomping my foot in frustration. He's a smart kid. He won't do anything stupid, Ian shrugged. Years. That's the definition of curiosity and danger. I muttered, glaring at him. At that moment, the bedroom door clicked open. Ed stepped out, hair messy from his nap. He rubbed the back of his head and paused when he saw Ian. Then he looked at me. I smiled and wrapped my arms around him, pressing a quick kiss to his cheek. Good sleep, I suppose? I asked. He nodded, hugging me back and pressing a soft kiss to my lips. I heard Ian clear his throat, and we pulled away, chuckling. Hey, dude, Ed said casually, walking toward his phone charging on the side table. Hey, Ian whispered, confused. I smiled at Ian, who smirked. He called me dude. So, he doesn't hate me now? Wow. Don't push it. It's still early days, I said with a poker face. You're just jealous of my new best friend, he teased. Best friend? I could still break that bond, you know, I said, leaning closer. You wouldn't dare, he whispered. Try me, I replied with a grin. You're such a sore loser, he muttered, heading for the door. I laughed as he left. I hugged Ed tightly. Thanks for yesterday, I whispered. Love you. See you, he replied warmly. See you, I said, watching Ian leave. I paused, reflecting on how lives never turn out the way we expect. Before I could get lost in thought, Ed pulled me close, hands on my waist. What are you thinking? He whispered near my ear. I closed my eyes, shivering slightly as he pressed a soft kiss to my temple. About how lives can change without warning. 10 years ago, I would have laughed if someone told me I'd be a father, single, and then have someone like you in my life. He turned me to face him. I rested my hands on his neck as he cupped my cheek, thumb brushing gently across my skin. Lives change. People change, he said, breathing deeply. It grows. Or it fades, but it never fully changes. I've loved you every single day, even when I didn't know if you loved me back. I'll love you now, tomorrow, 2 weeks from now, until the end of my life, maybe even beyond. And it will grow every day, he whispered, forehead resting against mine. I sobbed softly, overwhelmed by the depth of his words. I love you. I'm sorry for everything. I don't want you to stop loving me. I don't want you to leave. I love you so much, I choked out, tears streaming. He smiled, gently pulling me close. Our lips met in a tender kiss, and I melted into it. We held each other, letting our emotions flow freely. I don't think you even have the option to get rid of me, he teased. I laughed, leaning in to kiss him softly again. A few months later, Ed was a constant presence in our home, only away for matches and tours. Each time he left, it hurt, but I knew I couldn't stop him from pursuing what he loved. Kevin had warmed up to Ed. They played football together, and Kevin was utterly mesmerized by Ed's tricks and guidance. Tonight, Ed had to leave for a tour. I packed his bags, heart heavy. What's bothering you? I heard his whisper. He hugged me from behind, swaying slightly. I just miss you before you even leave, I sighed, smiling. I'll be back before you know it, he said softly. I nodded, finishing packing his things. I guess you were right. Lives change. People change, I murmured, looking at him. What do you mean? He asked, brows furrowed. I'm just wondering if... Are we? My voice trailed off, unsure. Oh no. You're not walking away this time, he said, gently but firmly pulling me back. He caged me in his arms. I traced my fingers across his cheek, down to his lips. Don't go, I whispered, for the first time speaking my own desire without thinking of anyone else. He smiled softly. I love you. This is the first time you've told me not to go. First time you spoke your heart, and I'm so glad it's me. He nuzzled his nose against mine. I wrapped my arms around his neck, kissing him softly. It's always you, I whispered. But this time I have to go. Just for a little while. I promise it's the last. I have plans and I need time. Please trust me, he said sincerely. I trust you, baby. More than anything. Just come back soon. We miss you, I whispered, hugging him tightly, not wanting to let go. I will, he promised, pressing a soft kiss to my neck. I smiled, knowing that with Kevin and me, he was part of our family now, and I couldn't imagine life without him. Chapter 30. Josh POV. The next day, my house felt strangely empty without Ed. Even though Kevin was my world, without Ed, something in my life felt incomplete. I dressed Kevin for school, watching him eat cereal at the dining table. I packed his lunch in silence, lost in thought. Papa? Kevin's small voice broke through my gloom. I turned to him, seeing worry in his eyes. Yeah, something wrong? I walked over and kissed the top of his head. He shook his head, then cupped my chin with his little hands, pouting. Why is Papa sad? Did I do something wrong? I melted. My heart ached at his concern. I scooped him onto my lap, hugging him tightly. Oh, Kev, you did nothing wrong. I'm just missing someone. But I have you, right? You love Papa? He nodded eagerly, smiling widely. I smiled back, leaning down to kiss his cheek softly. Papa loves you so much more than I can even say, I whispered, feeling a love deeper than anything I'd ever known. Do you miss Ed? Kevin asked quietly. I pinched his cheek and smiled. I miss him too. And I like him just like you do. After school drop-off, I returned home filled with warmth. Kevin's love reminded me how lucky I was. I picked up the receiver of my landline and dialed Ed, but it went straight to voicemail. Hey, this is Ed. I can't talk right now. Leave a message and I'll call you back. Hey, it's me. Just calling to see how you're doing. I miss you. Call me when you can. Bye. I hung up with a sigh. 2 weeks without him seemed impossible. But I reminded myself not to let my sadness show to Kevin. I couldn't let him worry. The day passed as usual, and when I picked up Kevin from school, he kept me busy. By bedtime, Kevin was fast asleep. I showered, then poured a small glass of whiskey, though I rarely drank. I just needed a moment. I pressed the landline's message button and froze. 45 messages? All from Ed. I cupped my mouth in shock. Hey babe. I miss you too. How's Kevin? I'll be there soon. Love you. Call me soon. Where are you? I tried calling your phone. Call me. Josh, please pick up. I'm worried. Each message grew more anxious. The last one left me staring at the receiver in disbelief. You don't want to talk? Fine. I'm coming over. And yes, you're going to pay for this, Josh. I quickly dialed back, fumbling. I'm so sorry my phone died, and I was with Kevin. I started. Just open the door. His voice was firm but not unkind. I did, and there he was, tired but determined, bag in hand. My phone slipped from my hand onto the floor. You have a match tomorrow, I exclaimed. He just smiled, pulled me into a tight hug, and pressed a soft kiss to my lips. I wrapped my arms around his neck, feeling like my world had finally righted itself. Don't ever do that again. Do you understand me? He whispered. I'm sorry, I breathed, cupping his face and pressing light, lingering kisses along his cheeks and forehead until we both laughed softly. I awoke early, quietly dressing in pajamas. Ed slept peacefully beside me. I kissed his lips softly and tiptoed to check on Kevin, still fast asleep. Smiling, I started breakfast and packed Ed's bag. After a couple of hours, Ed groaned, stirring. I sat on the edge of the bed, smiling. Good morning, he mumbled sheepishly. I leaned in for a soft kiss, and he pulled me closer. I giggled, playfully pushing him away. Nope, not now, I said, handing him a cup of coffee. Why not? He whined. I pointed toward his packed bags. He chuckled, realizing I had taken care of everything. Morning coffee and breakfast, you really spoil me, he said, settling next to me. I smiled as we sipped quietly, just enjoying each other's presence. I felt the warmth of family, of love, and a quiet longing for the future. When's your flight? I asked softly, resting my head against his shoulder. In about 2 hours, he said. I'll wake Kevin so you can see him before you leave, I said, smiling. Of course, and I have a surprise, he said with a mischievous grin. What? Best eyes wide. If I tell you, it wouldn't be a surprise, would it? He teased, pressing a quick kiss to my cheek. I rolled my eyes, smiling. Fine, keep your secrets. He pointed to his bag. Check the second zip. I opened it excitedly and found 2 tickets to LA. 2 tickets? Passes? What's going on? Preston, you're coming to see my match next week. That's where the real surprise is, he said, hugging me slowly. I laughed, jumping up and hugging him tightly. Kevin will be so happy. Oh my God. Ed smiled, holding me close, and I knew life was full of surprises, but with him, everything felt right. Chapter 31. Ed's POV. My heart was pounding. Was I ready for this next chapter of my life? I had always loved Josh, more than I ever realized, more than he could possibly know. Seeing him in front of me, excitedly scanning the tickets like a kid, his smile brighter than the sun, I knew one thing for sure. I wanted to be with him for the rest of my life. Now, would you just look at that? Or wake up Kevin? I whispered, kissing him softly. He smiled and took my hand, leading me to the bedroom. He ran over to the bed and gently woke Kevin with kisses. Honey, wake up. Kevin grumbled in his sleep, and I chuckled. Kevin, I said, standing near Josh, who was sitting on the edge of the bed. Kevin's eyes opened slowly, and his face lit up with surprise. He shot upright and leaped into my arms. I picked him up, spinning him around, and Josh watched us with an expression I couldn't quite read. I missed you. Kevin's high-pitched voice made me laugh. I missed you too, bud, I said, smiling at Josh. I should give you guys some time, Josh said, pecking my lips and ruffling Kevin's hair. I nodded and watched him leave the room, my eyes following every movement. He was radiant, his hair soft, his smile full of warmth. Just looking at him made my heart ache with love. I turned my attention back to Kevin. Kev, I need your help. Will you help me? He nodded eagerly. I ruffled his hair and he laughed. What would you say if your papa and you could be with me forever? I asked gently, sitting on the bed with him in my lap. His arm went around my shoulder, and he looked at me wide-eyed. Like a family? He asked. Yes, like a family, I said softly. You love Papa, he exclaimed. I blinked, surprised. Kevin, we love each other a little differently than friends. I paused, unsure how to explain. I know, he said quietly. You know? How? I asked amazed. Ian told me. About Papa. About you, he said softly. I sighed, looking at him. Well, Kevin, Ian is right. Some people love others in a special way, regardless of gender, like Papa and me. But the most important thing is your happiness. If you're not comfortable with this, it's okay. You'll always be the most important person in my life after your Papa, and your happiness comes first. His hazel eyes, so much like Josh's, met mine. I kissed his forehead and he smiled. I'm 7, you know, he said slowly. Papa took me in when I was a baby. I don't even remember. Ian told me. Kevin, you know Papa loves you. He would have told you at the right time, I said, hugging him tightly. I know my Papa. He's always cared for me. I love him. I love both of you, he whispered shyly. I smiled wide. I love you too, I whispered back, kissing his forehead. You can marry my Papa. I don't mind. But you gotta teach me the backflip kick, he added, narrowing his eyes playfully. That's a tough one, I pretended to think. He pouted, making me laugh. You can do it. And thank you, you're really smart for a 7-year-old, just like your Papa, I said with a chuckle. And we're going to LA for my match, I added, smiling. What? Really? What? I'll see all the players? Can I get their autographs? His excitement made me laugh and nod. Okay, you in? I asked. Yes. I'm in, he said, grinning. Josh POV. I was overjoyed. Finally, we would get to see Ed play live. My heart swelled at the thought of our little family going on this trip together. As I continued working in the kitchen, my mind drifted back to Kevin's excitement. He really loved Ed. Maybe it was finally time to have the talk with him, to explain how I felt about Ed and how much he meant to both of us. I was lost in thought when Ed and Kevin came out of the bedroom. Ed had Kevin in his arms. I walked over and took Kevin, holding him on my hip. What's going on? I asked, glancing at Ed. Nothing, Kevin said, shaking his head. Okay, let's get ready. We don't want to be late, do we? Ed said, pecking Kevin's head and giving me a quick kiss on the cheek. Kevin nodded enthusiastically, and I looked at Ed, eyes narrowing in curiosity. We got dressed, packed bags for Kevin and me, and notified school and my assistant about the week away. Kevin ate breakfast while I helped tidy him up. Ed reached under the table, intertwining his fingers with mine. I caught my breath, smiling and tightening my grip. I mouthed silently, I love you. He mouthed back, I love you too. Finally, we were in the car. Kevin chatted nonstop while Ed responded with equal enthusiasm. I smiled, feeling our little family finally complete. This trip would be special, and maybe, just maybe, it was time for me to take a big step in our relationship. I glanced at Ed. What? He asked. Nothing, I giggled. Chapter 32. Josh POV. It was beyond imaginable. The match had taken all our energy as we cheered for Ed from the box, and now the victory celebration was in full swing. We were treated like VIPs, and I felt a little awkward, not sure why. But seeing Kevin safe and happy made everything okay. Kevin was bouncing with energy, chattering nonstop about the players and the match. I smiled at him. His excitement was infectious. We were guided to the new ballroom for the post-match party. I excused myself to the men's room with Kevin. After a moment, I knocked gently on the door. "Kev, are you okay?" "Open the door, let me help you," I called, concerned. "Papa," he shouted, his voice carrying across the hallway. Men passing by glanced at me. I smiled awkwardly. "Kids," I muttered under my breath. "Papa," he groaned. "I'm not a baby anymore. Step back 2 steps and let me handle it." I huffed and stepped back. "Yes, I'm 2 steps back," I said, raising my hands in surrender. Finally, the door opened, and Kevin stepped out, looking down at his messy pants and belt. He glared at me, but I had to stifle my laughter. I knelt and cupped his cheek. "You'll always be my baby. Even when you're 60. I kissed his cheek. He whined playfully. "I love you." "Come on, let's fix this," I said, kissing his forehead. I lifted him onto the counter and helped straighten his pants. After washing and drying his hands, Kevin rested his small hand on my cheek. "I'm sorry," he said softly. I smiled. "I'm sorry too. Come on, let's go see Ed. Ready?" He nodded eagerly, pulling my hand toward the exit. We stepped into a dark room, and suddenly Kevin let go of my hand. My heart skipped a beat. "Kevin, where are you? Come back here right now," I called, panic rising. A spotlight clicked on. Kevin stood in the center of the room, holding a piece of paper, smiling. I stepped forward, astonished. "Kevin," I whispered. He cleared his throat and began to read. "Dear Papa, you are my mom and my dad. You have always loved me, even when I was naughty or caused trouble. You never stopped loving me. I was just a baby when you took me." My eyes widened in tears. "He knew? Ian?" Kevin continued. "I don't want to know my real parents because they don't mean as much to me as you do. You are everything to me, Papa. I want to be with you forever. I love you." My chest swelled, tears streaming down my face. I wanted to hug him but forced myself to stay calm. "And today I want to tell you, I want you to be happy too." Another spotlight appeared, this one on Ed. He stood in a black tux, looking handsome and mine. He stepped forward, holding Kevin's hand. I reached out, touching his chest gently. "Ed, what's going on?" I asked softly. The lights came on, and I realized everyone was there. Friends, family, even my parents. My eyes widened. They didn't know about Ed or Kevin, yet here they were, smiling at me. Ed slowly knelt in front of me, holding Kevin close. "Honey, no." I tried to stop him, but he gently persisted. "Let me please," he said with a smile. Kevin giggled, smiling widely. I cupped my face in shock and joy. "Josh Calvin, my one and only love. You came into my life when I almost lost it. You saved me 7 years ago and continued to save me every day since. You've been my friend, my support, my family, and now my partner. I fell in love with you slowly and then all at once. I couldn't imagine life without you." He looked at Kevin. "Sorry, Kev, cover your ears." Kevin complied, giggling. "You've loved me unconditionally and healed me in ways I never thought possible. This past year with you and Kevin, I've never been happier. You and Kevin are my family. And if you'll let me, I want to spend the rest of my life making you as happy as you make me." He opened a small black box to reveal a platinum band. My hands flew to my mouth. "I brought this 3 years ago without knowing we'd ever meet, but something told me it was for you. 7 years, Josh. I can't wait any longer. Will you marry me? Be my husband?" I choked back tears, nodding. "Yes," I whispered, holding him tight. The room erupted in cheers. I laughed shyly, overwhelmed. Ed kissed me gently, then fully as Kevin watched happily. I slipped the band onto my hand, hugging both Ed and Kevin, feeling a warmth I'd never known. "You knew?" I asked Kevin, smiling. He nodded. "Ed planned it. It was a surprise for you." "Oh, hon," I hugged him. "Thank you. I love you so much. That speech was amazing. Ed helped you." He nodded shyly. I kissed his cheek. I'll remember it forever. We mingled with everyone, but I kept glancing at the band on my finger, still in disbelief. I was going to be married to Ed. When my parents approached, I tensed, but Ed whispered, "It's all right. I'm here." His calm presence helped me breathe. "Mom, Dad," I said with a tentative smile. My mom pulled me into a tight hug. Tears rolled down my face. 12 years had passed since I last felt her warmth. "I'm so sorry, son," she whispered. "You took too long," I replied, tears slipping down. Ed held me close, comforting me. I hugged my dad cautiously and he returned it, holding me tight. Kevin ran to us and I lifted him. "Do you want to meet your grandparents?" I asked. His eyes widened with surprise. My mom scooped him up, showering him with kisses. I smiled, overwhelmed with joy. Ed draped an arm around me, pulling me close. I breathed in, feeling his comfort. "Thank you," I whispered to my parents. He kissed my temple. I smiled, thinking, why didn't I do this sooner? "Ready for the next part?" Ed asked. I glanced at him, confused. "My parents," he said, nodding toward his mom and dad. I smiled and took his hand. We walked toward them. "Mr. and Mrs. Shaw, pleasure to meet you," I said, extending my hand. "Congratulations. We're so happy Ed finally settled down," his mom said. Ed rolled his eyes playfully. I winked at him. "We're together now, that's what matters, right?" "Right," he said, smiling. I leaned close and whispered, "Dance with me, my love." He blinked in surprise. I smiled and kissed him softly. Our lips met again as we moved to the middle of the ballroom, intertwining our fingers, holding each other close. His hand on my waist was firm and steady. My heart swelled as we swayed, foreheads pressed together. "Thank you, Ed," I whispered. "For loving me, for loving Kevin, for everything." He kissed me softly, cupping my cheek. "Thank you for marrying me, Josh." Chapter 33. Josh POV. "Oh, come on, Joe. Please, I'm sorry. How long are you going to be mad at me?" Ian whined as he adjusted my black blazer from behind. I rolled my eyes at him in the mirror. "You told my son he was adopted before me. His father." I turned to him, taking my bouquet from his hands with a huff. "How many times do I have to tell you?" He asked so many questions and I had no choice. "You know your son," he whined louder. I straightened myself, fixing the last strands of my hair. "I don't care. You're lucky you're my best man right now," I said flatly. He pouted. I turned back to the mirror. "How do I look?" I asked nervously. He sighed dramatically. "You look like I wish I could rewind time and marry you myself." I smiled softly and cupped his cheek. "You have the most beautiful person in your life, and someday, I know, I'll be standing there fixing you up too. You're right about having the most beautiful person in my life." He pointed to his heart, and I smiled sadly. "Can I ask you something?" he said, gripping my wrist gently. I nodded, meeting his eyes. "If things had been different, if I hadn't hurt you, if those awful times never happened, and Ed hadn't come into your life, would you still have left me?" We stared at each other, silent for a moment. "Ian," I sighed softly. "Please, I want to know, Josh," he urged. "Ed will always be the one for me, Ian. I love him, and I still would no matter what," I admitted, looking down. He glanced at the ceiling, fighting tears. I smiled at him. "Remember this, I will always love you. You're the person who has my back, always. And so do I. Best buds forever." I smirked, extending my pinky. "Forever," he said, hooking his pinky with mine. We hugged tightly. "Let's go get you married. This was your last chance. I thought I could take you and run away." "Think about it again," he teased. I laughed, shaking my head. He took my hand as we walked out of the powder room. "We're not done yet. I'm still mad at you, so don't even think about it." "Oh, come on." I laughed. We walked down the aisle together. My mom wrapped her arm around mine, and Ian kissed my cheek before stepping aside. Ed stood at the end, looking absolutely mesmerizing in his black tux. My heart skipped a beat. "I'm nervous, Mom," I whispered. She squeezed my hand. "You're the kindest, most beautiful person I've ever met, Joe." I may have made mistakes, but I am proud of you. Ed is the luckiest man alive. I smiled at her, stopping before Ed. I kissed her cheek and whispered, I love you, Mom. Thank you for your love. Then I turned to Ed. He extended his hand, and I took it, intertwining our fingers. He kissed my hand and rested it over his heart. I looked at him with shining eyes. I love him. God, I love him. Thank you for bringing us together. Ready? He asked. I bit my lip, heart racing. Ready. The reception was beautiful. Friends and family shared speeches and jokes, and laughter filled the room. My hand was looped around Ed's arm. He wore a deep blue tux, looking breathtaking. I was married to Ed Shaw, and it felt like a dream. Kevin sat happily with my parents, chattering endlessly. Ed's family was present too, though his mom and dad weren't very social with each other. Over time, he had grown closer to his dad's side and even his biological mom. I shivered suddenly. Ed noticed and cupped my cheek. You okay? More than okay, I whispered, smiling. You know what, Ed? I just realized something. What? He asked, concerned. You made my dream come true, baby, I said, gazing into his eyes. He smiled and kissed me softly. You're my dream, he whispered against my lips. After the speeches, dinner, and laughter, it was finally time to dance. I excused myself to the men's room while Ed mingled with the guests. Inside, I ran into a man at the counter, Ian's friend. Hey, I greeted. Hey, I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to congratulate you earlier. Ian just doesn't listen, he said nervously. I laughed. Sounds like Ian. He smiled shyly. Congratulations. You two look amazing together, like you were made for each other. Thank you. We've had our struggles, but we made it, I said with a chuckle. He nodded. And I know about you and Ian, it's all in the past. No hard feelings. I smiled. I'm glad. We'll always be friends. Ian can be a handful, but he's a good man. Give him patience and love, he'll come around. I know, he said softly. Fight for him. Show him love. Don't give up, I whispered, smiling. I returned to the ballroom and saw Ed talking to the guests. I slipped my hand into his and led him to the center of the floor. I want to dance with my husband. Do you? I asked, wrapping my arms around his neck. You have no idea. I missed you, he said. I laughed, kissing him softly. His hands went to my waist, pulling me close. We swayed slowly to our favorite song, spinning and laughing. This never gets old, I said, smiling at him. Never, as long as I'm around, he replied. I tucked a strand of hair behind his ear. There's no Josh without Ed. And no Ed without Josh, he said, smiling. I leaned in and kissed my husband. My husband? Mr. Ed Shaw, I whispered. My husband? Mr. Josh Shaw, he whispered back, kissing my smile. Chapter 34. Josh POV. We drove away from the reception, and I felt completely content and happy. Kevin was spending the night with his grandparents. They wanted to give us some privacy for our first night as a married couple. I was more than happy to be with Ed, just the two of us, though I couldn't help thinking about Kevin every single minute. Sitting in the passenger seat with my fingers intertwined with Ed's, I gazed out the window, thinking about destiny. How often do we acknowledge the role it plays in our lives? I never imagined Ed would come back into my life, yet here he was. Every time I saw him on TV as Kevin screamed his name, I would peek from the kitchen just to catch a glimpse. I smiled at him, remembered how close we had always been even when we weren't together. I had cheered for him every goal, every victory, jumping with joy while trying to act cool in front of Kevin. Little did I know, one day he would be my husband, and we would be married. I closed my eyes, smiling softly, silently thanking God and promising I would never let this slip away. Exhaustion finally took over, and I drifted into a peaceful sleep. I woke to a gentle touch on my cheek. Ed's fingers traced softly across my face, and I smiled as I opened my eyes. Are we home? I asked. We are, he replied with a wide grin. Stretching, I followed him as he opened the door for me. Suddenly, his hands covered my eyes. I have a surprise, he whispered in my ear. Okay, I said, puzzled. Just walk with me. I laughed softly, placing my hands over his as he guided me carefully over uneven ground. After a few moments, he stopped. Okay, open your eyes. I blinked and gasped. My jaw dropped. Before me stood Clark Woods, the mansion we had visited 7 years ago. Renovated, restored, and even more beautiful than I remembered. Words failed me as I looked at him in shock. It's ours, he said, holding out a set of keys. The Shaw residence. First. Take it. I stared at him, trying to process. It's ours? You heard right. I bought this place. This is our home now, the place that connects us. I renovated it, but I kept the touches that mattered, he said, stepping closer to pull me into a soft kiss. Thus found the park behind it. Do you want to see? He asked, eyes sparkling. The pond? The waterfall? I asked, amazed. He laughed and led me toward the backyard. We stood at the edge of the pond, and I couldn't stop staring. It's different, he said softly. Of course, 7 years have passed, and you've made it even more beautiful, I said, holding his hand. You want to go in? He asked, grinning. Go where? I asked, puzzled, before he swept me into his arms and jumped into the water. I squealed as the cold water hit me, gasping as I surfaced and reached for him. He laughed, holding me close, and I laughed along, wrapping my arms around his neck. We played in the water for what felt like forever, laughing, teasing, and holding each other. The chill couldn't compete with the warmth of being together. Eventually, we climbed out and stood soaked but happy. This place, it's perfect, I said, smiling up at him. It's our home. And wherever we are together, that's home, he whispered, brushing a strand of hair from my eyes. We spent the evening exploring, laughing, and imagining our future here, the place where we would build a life together. 2 years later. Papa, please. Kevin whined, eyes pleading as I flipped eggs in the kitchen. You know your dad. Even if I say yes, you still need his permission, I reminded him, placing eggs on his plate. Papa, I know. He never lets me go to any camps. But this one, it's in Spain. Please. Kevin begged, his puppy eyes melting my heart. I sighed, placing a hand on Leah's head as she poured honey over her cereal. Kevin, your dad is protective, yes, but that comes from love. He just wants what's best for you. Overprotective, Kevin muttered, narrowing his eyes. Before I could respond, Ed returned, sweaty from a morning jog. He kissed me quickly and then planted playful kisses on the kid's cheeks. I need your permission for something, Kevin said, gathering courage. What is it, bud? Ed asked, ruffling his hair. I want to go to a football camp in Spain for a week. Kevin blurted. Leah added her enthusiastic support, and Kevin's jaw nearly dropped in surprise. Ed smiled faintly, then shook his head. Not this time, he said, taking a bite of breakfast. Kevin groaned, but I could see the lesson in patience forming in him. Later, while the kids were at school, I found Ed on the balcony, deep in thought. I walked over, set the laundry basket down, and leaned on the railing beside him. He was smoking, and I gently took the cigarette from him, crushing it under my foot. This will kill you, you promised, I said, cupping his cheek. I love you, Ed, I whispered, resting against him. I love you more, he replied, turning to kiss me softly. Then do something for me? I asked, holding his face gently. Anything, he replied, hands on my waist. Let Kevin go to the camp, I said softly. Ed huffed, then smiled, gazing out at the woods. I hugged him from behind, resting my chin on his shoulder. You know how much he loves you. He looks up to you. This camp means the world to him. Someday he'll leave us for his own life, but for now, let him grow, I whispered. He's not going anywhere. This is his family. He will always be here with us, Ed said firmly. I turned him to face me, cupping his cheeks. One day, they'll have their own lives just like we did. We'll let them fly, but they will still love us. And we'll always be here for them. Ed nodded, tears in his eyes. I will always stand by you. I will always love you. Always. Thank you, Ed, I whispered. Thank you for marrying me, Josh, he replied, smiling. I laughed, tugging him toward the bed. Now, let's do some laundry. Oh no, laundry can wait, he teased, scooping me up and carrying me to the bed. I struggled, laughing, but surrendered to his embrace. I love you, Ed Shaw, I said. I love you, Josh Shaw, he replied, holding me close. Chapter 35. Josh POV. It was a quiet Saturday night, around 10:30 p.m. The lights in our bedroom were off, and the moon and stars shone through the large window. I lay next to Ed, feeling his warmth and the comfort of being together after a long, busy week. We had spent the evening with the kids, listening to them chatter endlessly about their day. Kevin and Leo were so full of energy, it was exhausting but heartwarming. Ed had been busy with league matches all week, and I could see how much he longed for this moment of peace with the family. Sitting across from him at dinner, I held his hand under the table, exchanging soft smiles. After a week apart, just being close again felt like the sweetest reward. Later, after tucking the kids into bed, I leaned down to kiss Ed gently. He whispered a few words to Kevin and Leah, who clung to him with sleepy smiles. I smiled at the sight, feeling so grateful for the life we had built together. Once the children were asleep, Ed took my hand, and we walked quietly to our bedroom. We laughed, whispered, and embraced, savoring the intimacy of simply being close. I traced his face with my hands, and he did the same, holding me with a warmth that reminded me why I loved him so deeply. We shared soft kisses and gentle touches, hearts beating together in the quiet of the night, grateful for every moment we had. Eventually, we settled into our bed, holding each other close. Sleep came slowly, wrapped in Ed's arms. When I awoke later, it was to the soft voices of Kevin and Leah calling for us. "Papa?" Kevin whispered, tugging at my arm. Something felt off. I looked toward the bedroom door and saw Leah clinging to me. Kevin whispered that he had heard footsteps in the house. My heart raced. I quickly nudged Ed awake. "Ed, wake up," I whispered urgently. Groggy at first, Ed's eyes snapped open when he saw the kids. Calm and protective, he moved swiftly, checking the house while I held the children close. He found a baseball bat for safety and reassured me to call the police. I stayed in the corner with the kids, heart pounding as he investigated. Soon, we discovered it was only Ian, a family friend, who had come over unexpectedly. He had entered through an unlocked back door and was slightly tipsy. Relief flooded over us, and I laughed nervously as Ed scolded him gently for the scare. Despite the initial panic, the situation ended in laughter and light teasing. Ian shared the happy news that he was engaged, and we celebrated quietly, grateful everything was safe. Decades later. Ed's POV. I glanced at Josh, lying on the bed, fragile yet full of love. Today was our anniversary and also our granddaughter's wedding. I helped him with his suit, dark blue, the one he always loved. He smiled faintly, and I brushed a hand over his cheek. "You'll be late, don't want to miss the wedding," I said softly. "I can't help myself," he whispered, holding my hand. Even after all these years. We shared a tender kiss, one of many that had marked our long life together. I helped him steady himself, and we laughed quietly at our old habits. Though he struggled with his health, his spirit was unwavering. At the cemetery, I knelt before Josh's grave, bringing his favorite flowers. "Happy anniversary, my love," I whispered, smiling through tears. I placed the bouquet gently on the stone, remembering our life together, our love, our children, our family. I stayed for a long while, talking to him, remembering him, and letting the tears fall freely. Soon, my children joined me, Leah, Ian, and Leo, guiding me gently away, offering comfort. Even after decades, the memory of Josh remained vivid, a testament to the life and love we shared. As we walked away from the grave, laughter and gentle bickering filled the air, Ed and Ian teasing each other as we always had, yet under it all, there was love, respect, and unshakable bonds. Josh would have smiled, knowing his family carried on with joy, remembering him with love. Thanks for listening to today's BL story. If it made your heart skip a beat, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Only here on BL Stories, where love knows no limits.